You work with many of the most powerful people, most influential people, the wealthiest people in the world.
And these people are so focused on their business goals, so focused on achieving very specific things that in their personal life, they know nothing's impossible, so they want it. So we've taken people driving up volcanoes in Iceland, trekking across Antarctica, and taking people to space. I mean, we're very lucky. We set up space experiences 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, in fact. We sent our first clients to space 2 years ago with Blue Origin at the time. So really imagining the impossible and then delivering it for people. Even if you're fighting every day for as much money as you want, there's nothing you can do with this bit of paper. Like, you have to spend that on something to create happiness. What brings happiness is being present, enjoying the moment, every moment. Think so big, people think you're crazy.
So my guest today is Jonny Dodge. Originally from the UK, he's relocated to Dubai and has become the ultimate architect of money can't buy experiences for the ultra wealthy. Jonny's a serial entrepreneur, chartering super yachts and private jets and organizing exclusive events in the world of F1. He's also the founder of Global Base, a community for globally minded entrepreneurs and visionaries. His work sits at the intersection of extreme luxury, high stakes networking, and visionary mindsets. Jonny believes that true wealth isn't about accumulating assets, it's about the freedom to explore. So Jonny, thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here, looking forward to it.
Yeah, so I usually find it's best to allow my guests to introduce themselves. So how would you introduce yourself?
I think you've done an amazing job. I think my world is about living beyond your limits and what you think is possible. And I'm lucky enough to live in a world where our businesses look after billionaires, some of the greatest minds in the world, some of the biggest thinkers. So you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and I get to be inspired by those people every day. But yeah, as you said, our businesses cover everything from people chartering aircraft with Your Sky. We have My Ocean, our yacht business, GPM, which has been with me since the early days, 18 years we've had that business. Wow. Running events in Formula One and crazy adventures around the world, down to Antarctica and everywhere you can imagine, and now Global Base, building community. So what pulls all that together is some incredible clients, incredible people, and being able to dream big. So yeah, that's my passion.
Thank you for that. So you are very well known for both living and then experiencing some of the most unique places and events, I think, globally around the world. We're going to come on to your voluntary shipwreck shortly, but for people who don't know, can you go through some of the experiences that you have both lived but also created for others?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's all driven from a passion, but our businesses across the group have been really from GPM, where we look at how we can create unique experiences, often for corporates or for consumers that want to really push those limits. So we've taken people driving up volcanoes in Iceland, trekking across Antarctica, and these are driven from passions of my own. I think that that ability to stretch your mind, taking people to space. I mean, we're very lucky. We set up space experiences 4 years ago, 5 years ago now, in fact. And we sent our first clients to space 2 years ago with Blue Origin at the time. And so really imagining the impossible and then delivering it for people. The world has so many opportunities, and we're just like, our ability to be able to share those with people is so exciting. And we look after a new generation of customer, people who have made young money at a younger age. And the reality is that the average age of millionaires and billionaires is dropping rapidly right now. So this is a total shift in the market. And because of that, we're able to find people that want to do new things and have the budgets to create these extraordinary experiences. When people are spending $25 million on a holiday, like, these are the trips of a lifetime. And I'm so passionate to create those and do that for people.
That's amazing. For people who haven't lived some of these experiences, can you paint the picture for us of what does a $100,000 experience look like? What does a $1 million experience look like? $10 million, $100 million. What can you expect from one and not from the other? Where can you expect to be? What sort of things are we looking at?
Look, I think that you've got to start a lot lower down that scale. For us, we have people spend several thousand on a holiday, those types of trips, and we start that as an entry point, an aspirational opportunity. We have a super yacht in Monaco for the Formula One. Yes, that would cost you $1 million to charter for yourself and have all your friends there for the weekend, but we give you shared access to that. So from £1,000 for a party night through to 10,000 for the whole weekend, you're getting to experience that and share that experience with like-minded, interesting individuals, and we build that community. So you're really meeting these entrepreneurs and interesting people at our events that we host around the world. So we're the ones putting in the time and effort to curate those experiences, create the people. So yeah, you can do that on your own, which will operate for you. We have someone doing their 40th birthday party at the Formula One this year, spending about $1 million, taking a jet over, bringing all their friends and having a great party. And what a great weekend. But we've got people spending $5,000, which is accessible to most entrepreneurs that might be watching or whatever, is to have a great trip to Monaco Formula One and experience a little piece of that. So that's gives you that scope and access, and how we created that as part of our community, either through volume there or through looking after our billionaire clients. And that's really then what we manage and do. But of course, yeah, that goes on to then where do you want to go even greater and bigger experiences, and through to astronaut training, taking people to space. I mean, you can buy a ticket to space for $65 million and spend a week at the space station if you want. So really, when money becomes no object, when you're a billionaire like that, you have that access. For us, it's about value for money is a fundamental, because this point, price is irrelevant. It's just about value. So we're always there. Where people say no, we say yes. And that's the key, is what do people say? Like, where do people think things are impossible? How do we create that unique access? Whether it's taking your yacht down to Antarctica and heli skiing in Antarctica, like the things that you can't imagine are possible are the things that we're there trying to create. And we're used to getting a no every day, because everything we're asking for has usually never been done before. And that's part of the challenge of the business, and what I love to do, because we're dealing with customers that also think that nothing's impossible. So we love to be able to inspire them. And that is part of our core story, and our core belief is we are able to inspire some of the most inspiring people on earth by giving them access in our little niche to really unbelievable things. And we hope that those people who are impacting billions of people's lives around the world, we're able to just give them a little nugget, whether that's their spare time, a little break, or something they're doing to motivate or incentivize a team that they have. Then we can create that for them.
That's amazing. And I think what you said there in terms of inspiring some of the most inspiring people is really important, because success obviously is a result of a lot of hard work, and hard work comes from a lot of consistency. And so many of the most successful people are many of the people who have been doing the same thing at a very high level for a very long period of time. And so for them to continue to contribute as they do to the world around us, whether that's from a business perspective or entertainment or whatever, they do need to be inspired. They do need new experiences. They do need to do things that they haven't done before, to allow, again, their minds to produce things and think in ways that are out of the box. And which is why, these are people that celebrate, and these are people that that achieve so much for the world around us. I'm sure from many of the amazing experiences that you have curated and created for your clients, you've had a lot of crazy demands as well. I've heard you speak before about a demand for a hot McDonald's, I think waiting on the tarmac of on a private jet, or a bathtub on a yacht full of champagne. Number one, was that bathtub ever used, if you know? And number two, what are some of the other crazy demands that you've had from people who were very demanding?
Yeah, I mean, both of those stories. The first one I was there for myself, which was chartering a BBJ out of Jeddah after the Formula One with one of the F1 drivers and some of his sponsors. And I know that one of his sponsors just loves a McDonald's on the plane. I wasn't hearing from the crew whether they'd ordered McDonald's. I was worried, so I ordered a backup McDonald's. Like, my McDonald's was coming through. We held the aircraft for a few more minutes because I wanted to make sure we had the fresh hot one that was coming through the security as they put it into the X-ray scanner as I'm getting the McDonald's from the terminal and putting it on the aircraft. So the client had McDonald's piping hot, straight delivered on the way back on his BBJ when We could also have caviar and Dom Perignon, but
Yes.
everyone likes the mix, I think. There's something about having McDonald's on a private jet that just seems to be the vibe. So
It's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's fun. And then, the gold bathtub, that was on a big yacht charter out of here for a birthday party. And we kind of pieced it together because they wanted a gold bathtub that we had to crane on, and then they ordered an enormous amount of pretty average champagne for their wealth, and we then clocked that the purpose was to fill the bathtub full of champagne for his birthday, which why not? If again, on someone's bucket list somewhere is doing just stuff, because life's about having fun and doing the silliest stuff. So why not, hey? And I think that's just, it gives you an insight into just letting off steam, having fun, living that world. Of course, some people are incredibly demanding and very arrogant with it. But I'm there and I understand, because the reality is that unless you're so absolutely dedicated and focused on achieving exactly what you've asked for, then you can't get somewhere in life. And these people are so focused on their business goals, so focused on achieving very specific things, that in their personal life, they know nothing's impossible, so they want it, right? So whatever that is, whether you're helicoptering in a Kobe steak that they wanted for dinner tomorrow night because we've had to fly that across and then land it there, then that's what it is. But when money's no object, you want the value and you want something, someone has to go and get it done. And we've fortunately been in the position to have so many requests that we have to deliver on, that these things just become every day in the office. So when you're having conversations in the office, over the table, when you walk in the morning and be like, this guy needs a gym on his plane, or the hot tub on this boat doesn't get warm enough for him at the Formula One. That's just a normal day, you know?
That's and that must do something to you as well, in terms of you also not believing that anything is impossible.
100%.
Last question I was going to ask on that topic was to do with the recent unfortunate events, obviously, of the war, and people trying to leave the UAE and the region. What were people paying to leave Dubai, and what sort of timelines were you given in terms of, I need to get out tomorrow, the next 1 week, or what did it look like?
Yeah, look, leaving here was certainly a very unique situation, and we're used to getting people out of conflicts globally. That's what we manage. So we're extracting people for different situations. We work with security teams where we need to extract people. There's always conflict in the world, so we have to do that in many situations. Here specifically, when you have airspace closed, reopening airspace again takes time. It takes logistics, winding up a new A380 from Emirates and getting that flown out and getting through the terminal. Guaranteeing when that was going to happen was challenging. People had business meetings they had to go to, or they simply wanted to leave because that's what they planned, or they just felt safer. So we were there to facilitate that, and when people needed it. But yeah, I mean, you were paying $250,000 for a flight as a starting point during the peak of the conflict. That was not something that we were impressing onto people. We had situations of having to pay huge war insurance on every movement of the aircraft. These types of situations, very few operators and owners willing to bring their aircraft in. But these people, we flew the first flight out of the UAE as soon as airspace opened up. So we were there on the ground every day, bringing people out of DWC, Dubai World Central Airport. And for us, that was a huge achievement for the team, because we were working night and day, 24/7. And the demands of these clients is, I need to leave now. And we were like, at that point, it was the trust that they have in us. It's like, we need the funds ready and available on account. If you're not a current customer with us, you need to be transferring $250,000 right now. I can't tell you when you're going to go. I'm going to give you 30 minutes notice, and you have to be at the airport. That's the terms. That's what happened, and we had the first aircraft flying out.
Wow.
So people were getting out when they wanted to get out and achieving what they wanted to achieve. So we viewed that as a huge success. And our team felt that they'd really supported people in their moment of need, what they wanted. And that was a really special time for us. And we still reflect on that as just being able to support people and do that was a very special time when people wanted to be closer to their families and be other places.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's amazing. I think you and your team provide and facilitate amazing experiences for people to be able to get the things out of life that they want. And that is, as you said before, doing fun stuff, and that's having great experiences that people want to remember. let off a bit of steam, right? But when you're talking about things like this, you're able to still use the engine and the machine that you've built to move people around the world to places of safety, to allow people again to be reunited with family. And I think that's a really special thing. So I think big congratulations to you and the team. I want to talk about not taking no for an answer. Yeah. You work with many of the most powerful people, most influential people, the wealthiest people in the world. And that is one trait that they all share. And that is how they've gotten to where they've gotten to. But what effect has that had on you in terms of the way that you live your life? And is that something that you had before or you had to develop?
Great question. I think it's that fascinating mindset that people believe things are impossible. It just simply isn't true. So I think it's so important where your starting point is with when you're making decisions. And my starting point is coming from a knowledge that nothing's impossible. And I think that that's what's missing for a lot of people. They come from a starting point of the answer's no, what's the question? And that has been a point that people have really struggled with. So for me, it's about knowing that the answer is yes and finding the solution. And we look at that in a position where it might take an enormous amount of funds and an enormous amount of resources, but everything is possible. And if you start with that mindset, and it's always, you've got to brainstorm that idea. If someone's going, I need to fly to this country on this date and do this particular thing, and someone will just go, no. And I'm like, well, look, if we spoke to the government, got approvals for this, spent $2 million here doing this and this, it would be possible. Now, does that sound like something you want to do? Or can we kind of meet in the middle and find a better solution? Like, I need a yacht delivered by this date. It needs to be finished by this date. It's like, right, well, we'd have to buy out these people in this slot. We'd have to do these things, but find the solution. Like, it might be that it takes too much time or too much energy. And sometimes that's available to people when they want to do that. So always in situations, I look at things from yes, everything's possible. What enormous hurdles do we have to overcome? And then somewhere you meet in the middle with the suppliers and with the client, and you find that position and you've delivered.
And how important is that for success in your mind? If all successful and wealthy people share this trait, what is the role that this is playing in their lives?
For me, it's fundamental, but it's that baseline. Like, I think too many people start with a baseline of, I can't do this. Like, that's not possible. Here's the framework I'm used to. Let's be 2%, 3% better next year. Like, those things are the things that create the glass ceiling, like create the problems. Like, every time, wipe the slate clean and imagine everything's possible, and it becomes so. Imagine everything's 100 times bigger, and it becomes so. Like, you've just got to just wipe everything clean. So many people, especially when entrepreneurs starting new businesses, they go down rabbit holes of deciding that this is the route for their business, and because they're just not willing to go, let's scrub that. Like, it's wrong. Let's refresh. And I was lucky enough, like my master's degree is about brainstorming and coming up with those ideas. And so studying that at the highest level of understanding how to break down preconceptions, completely destroy it, and start again with a fresh canvas, just pulling the things together. Some of the biggest disruptors in any industries are new people to the industry, people who've never been in it before, because they don't know the existing rules. And so when I've come into a new industry, it's amazing because I don't know the rules. Yeah. And that's what's so great. Yeah. Like, so many people are stuck with years and years of rule, whatever industry you've been in. You go, like, if you're in the banking sector, if you're in the event sector, whatever it might be, people go, oh, we don't do it like that. Why? Well, because that's the process. Well, let's change the process. Yeah. And so many times that's made so much of an impact. And that's what I'm so passionate about.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, actually, which you sort of answered, was what happens if you get like a good no? Like, you get a no that is for all the right reasons. Okay, it's not illegal or whatever, it's not immoral, but it's like, yeah, it's a no because of these logistical limitations, right? But you've sort of just answered it in the sense that you come into an industry or into a space where you're very well versed with the rules, and you hear a no for all the right reasons, and you don't even challenge it. But if you're a new entrant to the industry or to that space, you will often ask maybe what may come across as dumb questions. And before you know it, you're sort of then deconstructing some of those paper walls that are behind the answer is no. And before you know it, it then becomes actually quite possible to get that thing done if you then begin to ask even better questions. So I think what you're saying actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, you're looking at situations. I mean, I'm trying, and sometimes people don't realize the repercussions or impacts, especially when you're dealing with very expensive problems, whether that's on big events or with specific customers. If you've got a yacht that can't move on the first day of charter, and it's a large charter yacht, it's 100,000 euros a day problem that you're trying to solve, and someone's like, I can't get you an engineer until tomorrow, and you're like, why? It's like, oh, because they're in Spain. It's like, let's charter them a private jet and fly there. They're like, that's crazy. It's like, it's not, because that's going to cost me 8,000 euros to get them a private jet there. This is costing me 100,000 euros a day not to have the boat. So let's create a better solution. But they're not aware that that's the solution, and there's an ability to do it, because they never put an engineer on a private jet before. So the difference is understanding the impact and repercussions when you're dealing at such a high level on major scale events or problems like this, that sometimes the resources that open up to you because of the situations is so much bigger.
And have you always had that? I know that your father was responsible for furnishing, I believe, private jets and yachts and palaces around the world. And so you spent a lot of your formative years just around grander environments and around people who didn't take no for an answer. So did that help you? Was being around those environments useful for you today, or do you think you always had that?
Absolutely. I think that's, again, one of those fundamental core values. And like I mentioned before, it's you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that's probably one of the most important statements I can reiterate to people. It's something that you need to remind yourself of in your weekly tasks. Write that down. It's like, who have I been hanging out with this week? Like, shall I once a week set up a meeting to go and see some interesting people, set up a nice dinner? These types of things are the routines that you should get yourself into. Who's the wrong crowd that's not really inspiring me, who's pushing me down, who's being negative? So yes, I was so lucky at a young age to have access to all those things. At the age of 17, I was at the Monaco Yacht Show, going on some of the biggest boats in the world, and these types of things where money was no object. And at the same time, it's not always about money, but it's about that freedom that people with such large thinking have. And I was just around that all of the time. And with my father's entrepreneurial spirit, that just really put me into this world. So each step of the way, it's the environment I was around that brought me through that. And of course, look, if you grow up in a tougher environment, then you don't have that. People around you are very insular. They're small thinking. So breaking out of that is even harder, for sure. Yeah,
I think for people that I mentor and people that I coach, it's one thing that I often say to them a lot, that one of the fastest ways of moving yourself forward in life or out of the situation that you're in, if you don't like it, is to get around a new set of people. And as you said, it's the average of 5, but even getting around just a few different people can really just change and challenge the way that you think. And it's one thing I've seen a lot with people that move to this region. You're around a lot of people in the Middle East, in Dubai, in the UAE, that just think, again, that more things are possible. And so I think that's actually really, really quite powerful. For people that don't know about your journey, can you give us a bit of a whistle-stop tour through sort of your beginnings and early days in events, getting into F1 and sort of what you're doing now? Yeah,
I mean, look, I started by lucky enough to go to university. A lot of people do. They don't know what to do. They go on a gap year. I had a year out in the UK and didn't really do much with it. But I was lucky enough to have a mentor at university that inspired me, my professor. My professor got me to a first-class honours degree, which then gave me that momentum to then go and take my master's degree in London. Was going to take my master's something that I wanted to do, or the reality is that it gave me the opportunity to come to London, one of the greatest cities in the world, and that's where that platform started. I then ended up meeting people, connecting, was so passionate about going out and connecting with people. And from that, I then went on to do events and got myself a job organising the Gumball rally. Like that.
And what is that for people who don't know?
That is a celebrity supercar rally around the world. and we're putting cars on planes and flying them around the world in 7 days, where you're meeting presidents and prime ministers of country, closing down cities, having UN escorts. Like the reality of this is delusional, like fun and madness as you're going on what is like a movie for 7 days. And being part of that experience, the most hedonistic, testosterone-fueled, adrenaline-fueled experience you can have in life is doing that trip. And so I was lucky enough to meet some of the richest and craziest people. And that then led on to other relationships that I then had. I then was well connected with those people in London. I ended up buying a nightclub. And one night I went for dinner with a friend of mine who I'd met on the rally. A guy, Freddie Laker, his father was Sir Freddie Laker, who founded Laker Airlines. He's like, my dad's, I'm meeting this guy who's naming a plane after my dad. Do you want to come for dinner with him? I'm like, sure, why not? Sounds like an interesting dinner. And then I met Tony Fernandez, who owns AirAsia, and he's the Virgin Group of Asia. He owns Tune Hotel Groups, and he owns a number of QPR football team, all these types of things across the thing. And what was so fascinating is kind of meeting him, sharing those stories and passions. We became great friends, and then he ended up investing in my nightclub. He then went on to invite me down to Monaco Grand Prix. At the time, the founder of EasyJet, Stelios, from his apartment, watching the race, coming back onto Tony's boat. I was around this world of Formula One that I was so passionate about. And then he calls me up being like, oh, Jonny, I'm going to buy a Formula One team. I'm like, all right, tell me when that happens. And then called me a few weeks later. He's like, I bought it. And at that point, it gave me that platform to come into Formula One. And he said, do you want to come and work for me in F1? I was like, absolutely not. I'm not working for you. But can you introduce me to Bernie Ecclestone? He did that. And I remember he said, I've spoken to Bernie for you. And so I said, okay, I'll give him a call. At the time, the number for Formula One, it was always calling up, it was like very secretive. It got a hold of Formula One, called them, was like, can I speak to Bernie Ecclestone? They were like, who's calling? I was like, Jonny. They're like, we'll let him know you called. Called up the second week, no response. Third week, I get a phone call. Mr. Ecclestone's on the phone for you. Wow. And I had that call with Bernie, and that changed everything.
That's crazy. And did you know he was going to call you that day?
No, not at all.
So what do you do when you go to that dinner with Tony Fernandez, when you get the call from Bernie Ecclestone? Where does your mind go? How do you know what to say? What are you trying to formulate in your mind as to how to impress this person and ensure that that relationship doesn't end there?
Look, I think this is, again, about core values. It's not about prepping yourself for a meeting. If you're doing that, then you've got the wrong mindset. Like, the reality is I know I can add value to people, and that's what you've got to be there to do. You're not trying to take value from billionaires and these powerful people around the world. You're trying to add it. And I think that's probably where people start in the wrong part of the process. They're like, what can I get? Whereas I'm like, what can I give? And that's far more important. So the reality is that people go, oh, I can't give anything. I'm like, you are you. You've got so many unique things about you as an individual. You're going to be able to offer this person something that they don't have. And that's the reality of understanding that money doesn't always bring you happiness. It doesn't bring you clarity on things. It doesn't bring you access to everything. You've got to build those relationships. So for me, I was lucky enough from a young age to have quite inspiring stories. I traveled the world. I was going, did one of the first ever tourist trips to the center of Antarctica. I was doing like all these unique experiences, and that was my passion. So I could tell these exciting stories, but I'd also have the ability to meet and connect to a lot of people. So being able to connect people was a huge value as well. So I had my stories to tell. I had my ability to connect people with other ultra high net worths or people who could offer unique value to these individuals. By doing those two things, I had interesting stories to tell and interesting opportunities to offer them, not looking for anything in return. And that gave me that powerful platform to then grow and create relationships with Elon Musk, with Richard Branson, and many of these people.
That's amazing. When you are networking, because I don't think it's unfair to say you are probably one of the best networkers probably in the world. What is the secret to networking? You've spoken about looking at what you can give and not what you can get. But what are some of the other things? And also, when you're speaking with people for the first time or someone that you've known for a while, what are you listening for to find out what you can offer?
Again, in those environments, it's key to listen is number one. Sometimes people, again, in those environments, people just want to talk. And it's like, you've got this airtime with this guy, like let them speak. Madness that you're just talking at them. So let them hear what they've got to say. That's the opportunity, right? And that's when you're going to learn what's their passion. Ask them. What's their passion? What do they want to do? That's exactly what my first conversations with Elon is like, what's your passion? And then seeing that there was a crossover in opportunity, that's when I could then go, oh, well, it's funny that's your passion because I have access to that for you. Yeah. So those are the exciting conversations that you create. And all of a sudden you're adding value and people want to be around you. And I love creating experiences and connecting people. Everyone will say in my friend circle, everyone's like, oh, how do you know each other? It's like, everyone met through Jonny. And I love hosting big events, whether it's our great Gatsby parties that we do for our friends that I had for my fiance's birthday in a chateau, or next week when we've got our own castle in the middle of the Sahara Desert for our wedding. I love hosting people and having experiences and sharing those experiences. I get so excited to bring people together. So networking is about bringing other people to the table. Who else can I introduce you to? What other value can I add to you? Listening to those people is those fundamental things. Oh, I'll connect you with this person. Cost you nothing. Do that. And then people want your number. They want to connect with you. I'll make this opportunity. Don't try and monetize the first meeting of someone. So many people, like, they meet a billionaire, first thing is, hi, will you invest in my business? I couldn't think of the worst thing to do. Like, what do you want? Can I add some value to you? Can I connect you with someone? And I don't want anything for it. Great step.
Amazing. Okay. How did you know early on, speaking with people that were very successful and very wealthy, that perhaps what they were missing were more unique experiences?
I think because I was so lucky to have those unique experiences from a young age, and I then started to get very passionate about it early. So then people are like, "Oh, cool! Like, what have you done?" And I was like, and people are like, you always want to you've always got to have that nugget of information where people remember you by. It's like, oh, you're the guy that went to Antarctica. Like, you're the guy that's like selling tickets to space. Yeah. Like, you're the guy that shipwrecked himself on a desert island. Like, these types of things, people are like, that's interesting. And like, people start to get passionate about it. And these types of things that are pushing limits that often aren't related to money. Like, I didn't need any money on a desert island. Like, and that's kind of one of the reasons I did it. But that's what's inspiring to those people, because you have those conversations. That's why they want to engage with you. So that's the value that I had to give to them and why they were so interested. So it was very clear to see from an early age, offer access to those opportunities and people will come running, and they just don't know it's possible. The amount of new billionaires that I meet that haven't been to Saint-Tropez, they don't know what that is. I'm like, this is how you do Saint-Tropez. Like, or I'll take you to the Galapagos, like people who haven't traveled the world, who've just been sat on a computer coding, these types of people. I'm like, I want to show you the world. And what excites me is seeing it through their lens for the first time. That's what I'm so passionate about. And many of these people that are my clients are also great friends. So I love sharing the time with them and seeing these new experiences through their eyes too. But yeah, if I can go and tick off my bucket list, whether it's diving 40 meters deep in the Great Blue Hole in Belize or going to like cave diving, like I can share these new experiences with people, and I'm so passionate about it.
Do you always experience something first before bringing clients, or do you sometimes go with them as well? Is there sort of like a quality control thing that you do beforehand?
Yes, but I must admit that I hadn't gone to space before I sent our first clients to space. It was a close call. I almost debated doing that myself. But I started astronaut training about 15 years ago. I'd taken NASA's Vomit Comet, the weightless aircraft they do, where you do parabola flights and create weightlessness, and have that training experience. And like one of my closest friends founded Virgin Galactic with Richard. I've been so close to that world. So yeah, living that experience, it's very hard to tell a story if you haven't done it. So I love being close to it. And that's of course, there's new experiences our companies grow and the portfolio of things that we have, but I've generally done a huge amount of these experiences, and that's what I pride myself in. If it's chartering a yacht, I've chartered the biggest yacht on earth and spent my time on it for a month enjoying it. So I know what it's like to charter huge boats and live on them, which might not be something that everyone in the industry has experienced, or like chartering the biggest aircrafts in the world with A330s with cinema rooms and gyms on board. So I've been lucky enough to experience these things right at the very top end. And having that knowledge is fundamental. And I live that life of our customers, and that's what they really value, because they can see it and understand it, or they see it on my Instagram and go, Jonny, I want to do that.
Nice. One of your, I'd say, secrets, one of the things you speak about a lot is thinking big. Can you talk about that mindset of 10xing and deciding that you can actually go further than you have before, or further than you dreamt of before, and how that has been important for your businesses?
I think this goes back to that point of breaking down all the known factors, or like what you have to do is get away from that, because so many people just iterate and that destroys everything. Like if you've got to wipe the table clean and start again, that's when you can 10x. So that's why I give that vision to my team whenever we're working on a new project is, okay, this project has to make $1 million. What if it had to make 10? At that point you go, we need to change the suppliers, we need to change the venue, we need to change the operators, we need to change the marketing. It's like, go and do all those things. And then let's fail. Because if we fail trying to hit $10 million rather than one, then we're going to fail at 2, 3, 4, 5. It'll be perfect. Like that'll be amazing. What a success, rather than trying to make 1.1. Like that's not the way we're going. And so everyone has to always shoot for the stars and fail and hit the moon, because that's the only way you're going to hit the moon.
No, that's really powerful. I read a book a couple of years ago called U Squared, and it was essentially about making progress in life. And it was a very, very short book, but the main premise of the book was that if you want to really move forward in life, you need to not think iteratively and not sort of go for a step-by-step journey, but just think completely outside the box. Not, am I going to get a promotion next year and then maybe 3 years later? Like literally think completely off that track that you're already on, and where you'll actually end up is so far away from where you would have, that's really the key way to make things happen in life. So I think
so big, people think you're crazy. And the day that you achieve just one of those tiny steps where you've jumped something, that is when you have that immense internal confidence. You go, well, I did that, so I can do anything else.
Yeah.
And that is the day that leads you on to being a successful entrepreneur. And that's the cornerstones of what makes billionaires, because they are so arrogantly confident that in their abilities, but it's because they've got a track record of it. So just go back and prove one little success. Be like, right, I said I was going to triple that because everyone else went, oh, go 1% better. I tripled it. There's my proof. Now I'm going and I'm going to prove everything.
What was proof for you? What were the first couple of things, or something maybe relatively recent, that you always look back on and say, I can do that because I did the last thing?
I think that conversation with Bernie Ecclestone, I was like, well, you can't have a conversation with Bernie Ecclestone. He's not going to give you the rights at the time to run the Grand Prix ball, the gala before the Formula One race at the British Grand Prix. And I was like, well, why don't I just call him and ask? And then where's the money coming from? I don't know. I've got to sell the tickets. Let's sell the tickets. You don't have any money to do it? You don't know. So it's having that absolutely fundamental belief. I called and called. He answered, said yes. I sold the tickets. Then I could put the deposit down in the venue. Then I could make it all happen. But just think so much bigger than all these things are possible. The first time we sold a ticket to space, it's just all these things weren't possible until they were. But you do iteratively get yourself there. I had been, and I think that people are like, you're taking huge risks, or these types of things. When I'm climbing some of the 7 summits that I've been working on, it's like, people are like, that's an enormous risk. And I'm like, no, because you've iteratively got there in your mind. You've worked out the process. So build your confidence up and understand that those things are possible. Make sure you've got the skill sets there in your arsenal, and then everything is possible.
No, I think that's really powerful. And it links back to what you said in terms of being around like-minded people, because then you actually have fewer people saying you're crazy, and you have fewer people that have no idea what you want to achieve and why you want to achieve it. And so you're actually in better company, which helps you to get closer to your goals as well.
Yeah.
I think that's
But there's always people who are going to tell you crazy. You can never get away from them.
We know in recent years that the average age of a billionaire or a multimillionaire has dramatically come down. We have AI, we have crypto, a lot of these technological advances that have allowed this to be the case. How have you modified your offering and your services to cater to younger, wealthy people and people who might not have experienced some of these things before?
The answer is we haven't. And that's because that's how we started. We have that fundamental jump up that no one else has had in some of these industry sectors, because we started by looking after this new generation of customer. You've got legacy businesses in yachting that have been around 200 years looking after people. Their speed of change is too slow. And in a lot of luxury industries, they're still looking after the old customer and didn't find how to evolve to meet the new one. And that's been a problem across so many industries. Formula One was just like that until Bernie Ecclestone left, because he wouldn't even allow social media at the time. So we were built on the new generation, and that's what's changed everything for us. My Ocean was built by having customers in their 20s, 30s and 40s buying 70-meter yachts, like chartering $25 million holidays. Like, we were built on that. So we haven't had to change anything. We were built from the ground up to service these types of customers. Customers that are chartering a boat for the first time, chartering a jet for the first time. We don't speak to them arrogantly. That doesn't mean that they're, unfortunately, with the old money mindset, if you haven't been there and you don't know it, then you're not welcome. And we've had to educate these people through and support them through that journey of learning about this world. So that's really been our strength in our business, is that we've been able to grow rapidly in a marketplace that everyone is coming to. We are on trend because we're servicing all these people, and we're able to deliver that with Your Sky. Like, you book everything through an app, like you manage all that stuff online. People understand it. We're able to connect and do those things that people relate to. And we're so unique as a business because we, as well as owning our jet and yacht business, we own an events company. So we create this community. And I think that this is so fundamental to what we see as the forward trend. Is, yes, billionaires used to be super private and away from everyone. A lot of them want to connect now, not everyone, but the reality is that, in fact, even the ones that don't want to connect with everyone, they want to connect with the right people, because that's so important to them. So we love to connect in small rooms and in big rooms, the right people. And if we have our yacht in Monaco, or we're hosting events and charity galas in London, we're able to invite our yacht and jet owners and charter clients to these experiences. Our global base that you mentioned, our new real estate project in Bali, building community. So that's what I've been so passionate about now, is we've built everything for the new generation of customer in this ultra high net worth space. And everyone wants to connect now, learn more, and really inspire each other and discuss these bigger projects of how we impact the planet. And we're so lucky to be right at the cutting edge of that.
And no, I think that's, I really love that. And let's speak about Global Base. What is the digital nomad to luxury nomad shift that you've noticed, and how does Global Base cater to that?
That is so fascinating because I think that we're seeing such a big shift in the way people are living, and more than any generation before us, people are now so much more living in countries they weren't born in. That then creates what used to be a firm tie is now being broken, even in middle-class families. Like, people are moving abroad and finding new lives. But then that also means that you're not necessarily going to stick there for a lifetime. You might be there for 5-6 years or move on. So now we're seeing, and again, it started with ultra-high net worth, but it's tearing down. People living in several countries. Everyone knows that Dubai can be quite seasonal in the summer. Those 3 months, people often go back to their home countries or travel to other ones. So this concept of people living nomadically, especially with all the opportunities to work from home and businesses being remote working these days. Some huge corporate organizations is completely remote working. And that ability to be able to do that has given people this flexibility. So what used to be this digital nomad, a guy sat on a laptop, is now what we've dubbed as the luxury nomad, is a CEO that has 300 employees, that has offices in different countries. He may be bringing a group of his team with him for several months at a time, people living seasonally, and they don't need to be in the big city anymore. They can connect with everyone. People are leaving those cities. The offices are closing down, and people are living in places like Bali and Thailand, Puerto Rico. Like, that's what's exciting. So we've built the vision of Global Base, our real estate project, on that mindset. So we're building homes around the world. We started in Bali as our first project, building 20 villas on the rice fields there for our ultra high net worth clients. It's very accessible price point to own a villa, but they're buying a villa to be part of a community, not the other way around. It's you pay whatever the price point, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 to come in, be part of all those experiences. Oh, and you get a free villa. Like it's really, that's what's driving people these days, community first. And we're able to offer that because that's what we've built on for so much time.
And what does that nomadic experience do for one's happiness, especially at that level of wealth and success? I know that you've studied happiness for many years across the world. And so what have you seen experiences like that, living that way, working that way, do for people from a happiness perspective?
I think that when you look at happiness, number one rule, money doesn't make you happy. I can categorically say that. And the wealthier you see people, sometimes the bigger challenges they have. So taking that out, the end goal isn't money, it's happiness. Even if you're fighting every day for as much money as you want, there's nothing you can do with this bit of paper. Like, you have to spend that on something to create happiness. So just make the end goal happiness, because sometimes you don't need to spend that paper money on those things. You can just get them for free. So don't make money the end goal, make happiness the end goal. That's the absolute fundamental that you should follow, is make happiness the end goal, not money. As soon as you realize that, then it creates so much more clarity. So fundamentally, that's the key way to aim at everything. And I think that anyone that starts to get distracted by this gets a bit lost in the world. So for me, the end goal is happiness and not money. But it's also, what can you do? Like, you don't need to spend millions. For me, it's going a different way to work every day. And I say this is my kind of one rule to someone, is like, just go a different way to work. You're like, why? That's going to trigger all these endorphins. It's going to inspire you. You're going to look at something new. Like, every day opens up a fresh opportunity for you, not just in that flow. You don't just arrive at work without remembering it. And that is those little steps to creating more happiness. I make a rule with myself, like often when I'm down in Bali, is go to a new coffee shop every morning. Last time I was down there, I went to 50 different coffee shops. It's like, because you don't remember the 16th time you went to Starbucks, but you do remember the first time you went to that little coffee shop and spoke to that guy. Someone's going to chat, oh, hi, you from, I met an owner of a coffee shop. She recognized me and was like, oh, what do you think of this place? And we built up a friendship on it. And those types of experiences are so special. And that's why I love traveling, is that ability to meet people from completely different destinations and come up with, just be don't get stuck in the everyday. I was sitting with my fiance and we were like, where are we going to go for our honeymoon? And we were sitting at a restaurant, and she turned to the waiter and was like, where are you from? And he's like, Uganda. He's like, where in Uganda? He told us a village in northern Uganda. I was like, tell us about this village. He's like, oh, it has all these things. We have 36 gorillas, or 37 last week because we had a baby. And she's like, and she wrote down the name, and she's like, that's where we're going on a honeymoon.
No way.
And it's just just have fun with life. Yeah. That's what it's about.
No, that's it's amazing. And I think even from a romantic perspective, right? The average of the people that you spend the most time with, your life partner is obviously a massive part of that, right? And having someone that thinks like you and could answer the question of where we're going to go on our honeymoon in that way is, I think, really special as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cameron's highest value is freedom. Like she wants to live a limitless life, and living a limitless life is so fascinating because you just, again, it's down to that. There's no answers. Everything's a yes. It's like I think when you live a limited life, you look at the four walls. When you live a limitless life, you look without the walls. And as soon as you can start doing that, everything's possible. Yeah. Nothing's off the table. Nothing is off the table.
Okay. Sorry, I started to dream as you were
exactly. That's the way it should be.
I wanted to ask about. So you often decouple happiness from money. A lot of people would say, "Well, give me the money first, and I'll let you know if I agree that doesn't make me happy or not." But before somebody gets to that level of wealth, how would you actually convince someone who doesn't have a lot or who doesn't have as much as they would like to have that, listen, when you get there, you'll see it doesn't make you happier? Like, how do you really let somebody know that? Because I think that would actually, more people having the understanding would cause the world to actually be a better place, as we all say, and we all want. But it would mean that we aren't going after certain things as aggressively, with less damage to the planet and to those around us and to ourselves in terms of mental health and our physical health. So how would you really advise someone and convince someone that money does not equal happiness?
Happiness is relative.
Okay.
And when you understand that, you start to look at it differently. Like whether you're a billionaire that's bought their new Koenigsegg, or whether you've just saved up for your first car. Like that first day feels really special in your first car. Like I remember driving out in my first car and it felt so special. You wanted to clean everything on it. You're like, but as time goes on, that excitement fades. Like that happiness of that experience fades. That was a one-time moment, like, and then it faded off. Science says this. Science has studied some lottery winners. They studied their happiness, and they studied people who ended up being amputees, and they took a measure of both of those people at that moment that situation occurred, and then they went and reviewed them 1 year later. Both groups of people with the same amount of happy, because everything becomes relative. So understand that the situation is relative. Your goal is to iterate, be more, do things, feel things. Like that's where the value comes from. Like, why did I go to a desert island and shipwreck myself there? Why? Because money doesn't matter on a desert island. There's nothing I can do with it. Yeah. Like maybe try and set it on fire. But I mean, that was fascinating because I went with the clothes on my back and a machete. I had to make fire by rubbing sticks together. I had to find ways of catching fish. Like, so that's all that mattered. The guy that could make fire and the guy that could catch fish. Like, and then we lived and experienced that world, and that was our world. Like, whether these guys were billionaires, entrepreneurs, the most connected people in the world, like, didn't make any difference because it has no strength there. And that's why I want to go back to the raw fundamentals of life. So when you do that, when you put yourself in a desert island, it doesn't get any more basic. This is ground zero. This is caveman. Then you learn. Then you go, well, money's not helping me here.
And what did that teach you about yourself, that experience?
I think it reconfirmed a lot of things. I did it because of what I believed in. And but it's also, I mean, the time was fascinating because more powerfully than the whole experience is, when's the last time you didn't have your phone for 10 days? And taking yourself outside of the outside world. So it taught me two different experiences. One, that whole concept of survival, desert islands and money, and the other about being completely disconnected. So what brings happiness is being present, enjoying the moment, every moment. Don't go just flowing your way through life and arriving at the office and not remember how you get there. Enjoy every moment. That is what will make you happy. You can measure that yourself. See how it is. Take your different way to work. Go and get a coffee from a different place. Live in the present. Don't be on your phone. Tell me that'll make you happier rather than the day you go and buy your new car. Because the day you buy your new car, like in a week's time, a month's time, it's not as interesting anymore. That proves it to me.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, as we round up, I wanted to speak a bit more about success. I've spoken a number of times on this podcast about my framework for success. Many of those elements you've touched on today. Agency, which I always speak about, you have outlined so many times in your life where you have shown such high levels of agency and just deciding to do something, deciding to change an industry or enter a new sector and just be that and actually achieve it. Also having a long-term mindset, being consistent, being comfortable with discomfort, taking risks as you did with Bernie Ecclestone and organizing your first few events. And also being independently minded, being someone that doesn't care what other people think. If other people call you crazy, that's on them, and you wanna push on. And those 5 elements I see so strongly and so frequently in the people that I sit across from, and no less in you today as well. What are some of firstly, would you agree with those? And what are some of the other traits that you see consistently in the people that you deal with and meet globally?
100%, I agree with those points. And I think just having that inner confidence in yourself. Like, yes, you've got to search to find ways of proving that to yourself, but the only person you've got to prove it to is yourself. And when you have that inner confidence, that gives you the ability to go out and take those steps. And as soon as you can do that, you've got the scientific foundations. I always go back to science because that's what matters to me in life. Like, I can prove something. So if I can prove I've done those things, then I'm invincible. And that is the fundamental belief of all entrepreneurs, is going out and doing that. But test those things, make sure you're doing it, and you can get there.
So we'll go in with the quick fire round of questions. The biggest difference between old money and new money
is lack of knowledge of the sector. Like, the people just don't know. So they're newbies coming in. It's like teaching a kindergarten.
Okay. The fastest way to instantly lose the respect of a billionaire?
Ask them for something.
In the room where everyone already has a private jet and a super yacht, what is the ultimate status symbol?
Their stories, their experiences.
What's the most wildly overrated luxury experience that people waste money on?
The amount of money we spend on food and restaurants, going and spending $100,000 in a nightclub on champagne. Like, I used to own nightclubs, don't do it.
What is an underrated way to spend your money?
Travel. Just go and travel uniquely. Don't plan it.
What's the biggest lie people tell themselves about getting wealthy?
That it will just iteratively happen if I sit there and go to work every day 9 to 5.
If you lost absolutely everything today and woke up in Dubai with $0, what would be your first move?
Go and connect some people together that I know and hope they make some money out of it, and see where I go after that. I'm sure it'll work out for me.
Okay. Would you rather travel to the furthest point in space or the deepest part of the ocean?
Space.
Okay. Why is that?
It's never ending.
Very true.
Let's go and find what else is out there. There's aliens somewhere.
And then the UAE, so Dubai, Abu Dhabi, London, and Monaco. One word or phrase to describe each of them.
Each individually. Dubai is limitless, and Monaco, old money. Where else did you want?
London.
London. The old guard, but maybe it's crumbling. I don't know.
All good. Well, Jonny Dodge, thank you so much for your time today. For someone who has experienced so much of the world, your take on life and success is extremely refreshing. And so thank you so much for sharing a piece of your life and your world with us. And I hope we can continue the conversation.
Yeah, I love chatting. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
If you like this clip from the Gold Standard Time podcast, please click the subscribe button and help us to grow the channel. More episodes coming soon. Thanks for watching.